This broad gauge steam locomotive from the East Indian Railway, entitled Ramgotty, is perhaps the first to be named after an Indian, Ramgotty Mukherjee, manager of the Calcutta and Southeastern and Nolhati State Railways. Built by Société Anjoubeau, Paris, France, it was equipped with the gauge valve gear, an invention of Sir Daniel Gauge. Seen here are the two outside eccentrics of the gauge valve gear at a phase of 90 degrees plus and minus delta from the crank pin. This EM class broad gauge steam locomotive with inside valve gears bearing number 922 was built by Atlas Works of the North British Locomotive Company, Glasgow, Scotland. From the North Western Railway and also used in the Great Indian Peninsula Railway, this locomotive hauled VIP and royal trains. Built by Friedrich Krupp AG, Essen, Germany, this XT1 class broad gauge steam locomotive with inside valve gears bearing number 36863 hauled light passenger trains in the East Indian Railway. With components supplied from the North British Locomotive Company, Glasgow, Scotland, this ST-class broad gauge steam locomotive with inside Stephenson valve gears from the North Western Railway bearing number 707 was assembled at the Mughalpura Railway workshop and was mainly used for shunting. This P-class meter gauge steam locomotive bearing number 31652, equipped with the Walschaerts valve gear, was built at Ajmer workshop, was designed for express passenger service and is from the Bombay, Baroda and Central India Railway. This HP class meter gauge steam locomotive bearing number 31412, equipped with the Walschaerts valve gear, was built by Baldwin Locomotive Works, Philadelphia, USA. This powerful locomotive is from the Jodhpur Railway and ran passenger services in the Jodhpur and Bikaner systems. This diminutive CS-class 2.5-foot narrow-gauge steam locomotive bearing number 775 was built by W.G. Bagnall Limited, Castle Engine Works, Stafford, England. This locomotive is equipped with what appears to be the Bagnall Price valve gear, a valve gear that is an invention of William Gordon Bagnall and Samuel Thomas Price, bearing patent number 11832, patented in 1903. The valve gears have outside rods connected to the crossheads and inside rods connected to the eccentrics on the axle, and was commonly used in many locomotives. This locomotive is from the Eastern Bengal Railway, running from Shantipur via Krishnanagar to Nabadwip Ghat and back. This WT class 2.5-foot narrow gauge steam locomotive entitled Pratap Nagar and bearing number 594 was, just like the previous locomotive, built by W.G. Bagnall Limited and has the Bagnall Price valve gear. This locomotive is from the Gaekwar's Baroda State Railway, running in the narrow gauge network, with Dabhoi being the main junction, and ultimately ended up with Western Railway. One of the most romanticized locomotives of India are the 2-foot narrow gauge Class B steam locomotives from the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway. This locomotive, bearing number 799, was built by Atlas Works of the Sharp, Stewart and Company, Glasgow, Scotland, after the builder had relocated from its earlier location in Manchester, England, upon becoming a part of the North British Locomotive Company, Glasgow, Scotland. This saddle tank locomotive, painted in contemporary blue and decorated with the fleur-de-lis, has a small firebox and is equipped with the ubiquitous Walschaerts valve gear. A glance inside the smoke box reveals thin pipes for transporting heated steam to the cylinders and thick pipes for transporting expanded steam out through the chimney, whilst creating a low pressure, causing more hot air to be sucked into the smoke box from the firebox through the fire tubes. Seen here is the link and pin coupler, allowing a wide-angle yaw to cater to the sharp curves of the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway. By the sign that says Darjeeling, another locomotive of the same class, painted in green to reflect the original livery, is seen with a carriage from the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway. This locomotive, bearing number 777, was built by Atlas Works of the Sharp, Stewart and Company, Manchester, England, before the builder's relocation to Glasgow, Scotland, upon becoming a part of the North British Locomotive Company, Glasgow, Scotland. This locomotive was rebuilt by the Tintharia workshop for life extension, then after its extended service life, retired, and now the National Rail Museum is home to it, while its boiler is home to wasps.
तो मत जाओ ना चुप रहेगी दीदा
This locomotive on a plinth by the bust of Mahatma Gandhi is a 2-foot narrow-gauge Class A steam locomotive entitled Hasang and bearing number 885, and is the smallest steam locomotive to have ever been used in India. Built by W.G. Bagnall Limited, Castle Engine Works, Stafford, England, and equipped with the Bagley valve gear, an invention of Ernest Edwin Bagley, bearing patent number 11469, patented in 1893, this locomotive from Coal India Limited served at the Ledo mines hauling coal. This 2.5-foot narrow-gauge steam locomotive entitled Primrose and bearing number 507 has the generic name of Decauville in honor of the French engineer Paul Decauville, a pioneer of easily assembled industrial railways. Like the previous locomotive, the Primrose was built by W.G. Bagnall Limited and is equipped with the Bagley valve gear. Used in hastily built trench railways during the frontier wars between the British Indian Empire and the Afghan tribes, this locomotive was later used to train the Madras Engineering Group, also known as the Madras Sappers. This WDM-1 class broad gauge diesel electric locomotive bearing number 17000 belongs to the class of the first broad gauge mainline diesel locomotives to run in India. Locomotives of this class were built by the American Locomotive Company, Schenectady, USA, for both passenger as well as freight traffic in Eastern Railway and Southeastern Railway. This EA1 class broad gauge electric locomotive entitled Sir Roger Lumley and bearing number 4006 belongs to the class of the first electric locomotives to run in India. Seen here are the non-driving axle with small wheels and the driving axle with large wheels together and articulated. Thereafter are seen the two driving axles, both with large wheels, together and fixed to the body frame. Finally are seen the two non-driving axles, both with small wheels, together and articulated. Built by the Schweizerische Locomotive und Maschinenfabrik, Winterthur, Switzerland, with other copies being built by the said builder, along with the Metropolitan Vickers Electrical Company, Manchester, England. This locomotive is from the Great Indian Peninsula Railway and hauled passenger trains, including the prestigious Deccan Queen, between Bombay and Pune. This EF1 class broad gauge electric locomotive, entitled Sir Leslie Wilson and bearing number 4006, is an articulated locomotive with two articulated power bogies, each with driving wheels operated by coupling rods. If it did not already have a name, in honor of the current inhabitants and in honor of Roman emperors, this locomotive could have been appropriately entitled Vespasian. Built by the Schweizerische Locomotive und Maschinenfabrik, Winterthur, Switzerland, with other copies being built by the said builder, along with the Vulcan Foundry Limited, Newton-le-Willows, Lancashire, England. This locomotive is from the Great Indian Peninsula Railway and hauled freight trains. This WAG-1 class broad gauge electric locomotive, entitled Bidhan and bearing number 20710, is the first indigenously built locomotive amongst all the locomotives of this class. The predecessors of this locomotive in this class were all imported. This locomotive was built by the Chittaranjan Locomotive Works, was designed for freight traffic, and had monomotor bogies for superior adhesion. The National Rail Museum at Chanakyapuri, New Delhi, is home to many other locomotives and carriages that were not presented herewith. This museum is recommended for train enthusiasts and for those with an engineering bent of mind.